In the evening, my wife Hui Hui and I were having dinner, and I sensed she had something to say but couldn't find the words. I understand her. Years of married life have made me feel her unease. So I encouraged her, Hui Hui, just say what's on your mind, don't hold back. She finally spoke, hesitantly saying, Honey, I want to ask you for a favor. I responded with a smile, a favor? Why are you being so polite? Just say it. Hui Hui paused. This matter might be a bit different. I jokingly replied, as long as it doesn't involve me dying, I'm willing to do anything. Hui Hui's cheeks flushed slightly as she quietly said, Actually, my best friend wants a child and hopes you can help her. I was stunned. Help her? How is that even possible? This request was beyond my imagination, and I didn't know how to respond. I felt shocked. She wants a son. Shouldn't she find her man for that? How can I help her? I asked incredulously. I had never met Hui Hui's best friend, and now she wanted me to help with something like this? You mean me and your best friend? That. Before I could finish, Hui Hui understood my meaning. Yes, that's exactly it. She answered directly. I felt confused. How is that possible? I can't do something like that. If she wants a child, she can adopt. Li Lei, why don't you understand me? Hui Hui's words left me even more puzzled. I was shocked and asked in disbelief, if she wants a son, she should just find her man, right? How can I help her? I had never met Hui Hui's best friend, and now she wanted me to help with something like this? I couldn't help but wonder if she wouldn't be jealous. You mean me and your best friend? I hadn't finished speaking when Hui Hui immediately understood. Yes, that's exactly it. She confirmed. I felt confused and uneasy. How can this work? I can't cheat. I proposed another possibility. If she wants a child, she can adopt, go register at an orphanage. Li Lei, why don't you understand me? Hui Hui's words left me even more puzzled. She suggested I meet her best friend in a few days. She also revealed an astonishing piece of news. If everything goes well, her best friend would give us 100,000 yuan and a house in the city center. This made my heart race. That was a property in the city center worth at least 2 million. Although I had reservations about her best friend's appearance, I was willing to compromise for that apartment. I quickly asked Hui Hui, is the house deal for real? She confidently replied that it was true. I was still hesitant and suggested I meet her best friend first. Hui Hui seemed very happy, thinking I would help. I felt speechless and confused about this situation. Finally, I asked Hui Hui where her best friend was. Hui Hui told me that on the 6th of next month, her best friend would return from out of town, and Hui Hui promised to notify me then. Time flew by and I was excited for several days about the promised apartment. One day, while at work, I suddenly received a call from Hui Hui, telling me her best friend wanted to meet me. I immediately took a leave and hurried to the agreed hotel. At the hotel, Hui Hui was already waiting for me. She was standing next to a fashionable, mature-looking middle-aged woman, wearing black high heels and nude stockings, in a body-hugging dress, with a beautiful face and a slightly plump figure, exuding the charm of a mature woman. Although she was a bit older, her allure was undeniable. When I saw Hui Hui's best friend at the hotel, I could hardly believe my eyes. She was really beautiful, and I secretly thought that even without the apartment I might agree. She looked at me and said, "Are you Li Lei?" She was wearing sunglasses, so I couldn't see her expression, only felt she was a bit aloof. I replied, yes, I'm Li Lei, Hui Hui's husband. She calmly said, have a seat, order whatever you want. I picked up the menu and saw the prices were high, hesitating. Hui Hui noticed my dilemma, snatched the menu, and casually ordered a few dishes. Hui Hui leaned in and whispered in my ear, how does my best friend look? I replied, pretty good. Really? But I doubt she's really your best friend. In my eyes, although she was a bit older, she was indeed more beautiful than Hui Hui. What are you talking about? Of course, she's my best friend, don't overthink it. Hui Hui rebutted my question. During the meal, she suddenly said she had to leave for work and asked me to chat more with her best friend to get to know each other. As she left, she gave me an encouraging look as if saying, go for it, you can do it. After Hui Hui left, her best friend took out a bottle of red wine and asked if I wanted to drink. Looking at the high-end wine bottle, I felt a bit inferior because I rarely drink such expensive wine. Sitting across from Hui Hui's best friend, I felt both inferior and expectant. This was a world I wasn't familiar with, filled with expensive tastes and unspoken expectations. The red wine she poured for me was indeed good. I couldn't help but sigh a little. Her pouring action was elegant and skilled. I noticed she didn't drink, so I asked her why. She calmly replied that she had to drive later. A smart choice, after all, I only had an electric bike as my means of transportation. After the meal, she told me we could go to a place where we could let loose. The promise of that apartment lingered in my heart, an irresistible temptation. We got into her car, which was as shiny and glamorous as her appearance. While driving, I couldn't help but notice her legs in nude stockings occasionally brushing against mine, both exciting and nerve-wracking. This intimate contact felt so surreal. As a man, I found myself daydreaming. In the car, I felt an unprecedented impulse, my heart conflicted yet expectant. Her words seemed like a hint, making me realize this was not just a transaction, but had deeper meaning. I tried to relax and couldn't help but reach out to touch her knee clad in stockings. The feeling was completely different from Hui Hui's. Her legs were soft and elastic, the touch was captivating. I was taken aback, deeply attracted by this novel sensation. At that moment, I seemed to fall into a strange state. My whole body seemed to be surrounded by a wave of heat, feeling unbearably hot. She softly comforted me, saying we would arrive soon. The car quickly stopped in front of a luxurious villa. She took off her sunglasses, and at that moment, I didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Her beauty and mature charm were incomparable to Hui Hui, far exceeding my previous imagination. My body was stiff, even walking seemed to tremble. She opened the door and invited me in. As soon as I entered the room, I couldn't help but hug her tightly from behind and whispered, "You are really charming." I couldn't wait to explore her body with my hands and mouth. Soon, she was crying and singing to me under my body, and I experienced the joy and confidence of being a man for the first time. When I returned home satisfied, my wife Hui Hui happened to come back from working overtime. She seemed to know what I had done, but she didn't blame me. We both understood it was for better living conditions. "Honey, you're back. How was your day?" Hui Hui asked, her eyes filled with deep understanding. I replied, everything went smoothly. Although my heart was a bit complicated, I knew it was for our future. Hui Hui smiled gently as if releasing the burden in her heart. She continued, let's think about our future house. What do you hope it will be like? We sat on the sofa and began to plan our dream home. A house with a spacious living room and a beautiful garden, a home filled with love and laughter. We talked about the style of decoration, the choice of furniture, and even the future children's room. I hope to have a big kitchen where I can cook many delicious meals for you, Hui Hui said with longing. I want to study. A little world of my own, I added. We chatted in the small living room for a long time, too excited to sleep. That night, I tossed and turned with Hui Hui for a long time, feeling like a strong stallion, with seemingly endless seeds. The next day, while I was at work, I unexpectedly received a text message. The message contained intimate details about my wife's close friend, shocking me. The text threatened that if I didn't want relatives and friends to know about this, I should meet the sender at the address left in the message. This sudden news left me confused and uneasy, unsure how to respond to this unexpected threat. There was no way out. I could only comply with the message's request. I arrived at the location specified in the text with a heavy heart. It was an ordinary cafe, feeling somewhat out of place. Shortly after I sat down, Wang Yan appeared. Her expression was complex, seemingly filled with unspoken bitterness. Do you know why I called you here? She asked me. I shook my head, filled with doubt. She took a deep breath and slowly said, I'm actually not Yang Jing's close friend. This is all her plan. She knew you would agree because she covets that house. I was shocked. This news completely exceeded my expectations. Then why did you get involved? I asked urgently. Wang Yan lowered her head. I have my difficulties too. But now, I want to end all of this. I need some money to settle everything between us. I felt anger and a sense of betrayal. My trust with Yang Jing was completely shattered. I realized I needed to make a decision, not only about Wang Yan's request, but also about my relationship with Hui Hui. My feelings were complicated, anger and shock intertwined. I stared at Wang Yan, trying to find answers in her eyes. How much do you need to end all of this? I asked, my voice trembling slightly. Wang Yan was silent for a moment, then said, 500,000. I felt my breath catch. This was a huge amount for me. I thought of Hui Hui, our plans, our future. All the beauty seemed to become unattainable at that moment. I need time to raise this money, I finally said. Wang Yan nodded, you have 2 weeks. I stood up and left the cafe, my mind filled with chaotic thoughts. I had to face not only the pressure of raising funds, but also decide how to handle my relationship with Yang Jing. On the way home, I realized my life had changed completely. When I got home, I found Hui Hui was already waiting for me. There was a hint of tension in her eyes, as if she sensed something. Where have you been? She asked. I hesitated for a moment, then decided to tell the truth. I went to see Wang Yan. Hui Hui's expression changed. What did she say? I looked directly into her eyes, my voice firm. She is not your close friend. She told me everything is your plan. Hui Hui showed a surprised expression, then quickly became flustered. I just wanted a better life. I didn't expect it to turn out like this. Our conversation became increasingly tense. I felt a pain of betrayal while also feeling lost about our future. She wants me to give her 500,000, I continued. Hui Hui fell silent. The air was heavy with disappointment. We both realized that this matter had caused irreversible damage to our relationship. On that heavy night, Hui Hui and I sat in silence, both feeling extremely burdened. I knew I had to make a decision, not only about Wang Yan's money, but also about our future. In the end, I decided to face reality. I said to Hui Hui, our relationship, our future, cannot be built on deception. I will find a way to get the money to solve this problem, but between us, I don't know if we can go back to the way things were. Hui Hui shed tears. She tried to explain, but the despair and regret in her words broke my heart even more. The trust and love we once had seemed to have shattered. That night, the distance between us became vast. The road ahead was filled with uncertainty, but I knew that no matter what, I needed to find my own path from this experience. On that tense and uncertain night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. My mind was filled with various speculations and anxieties about the future. Hui Hui lay quietly on the other side. The air between us was almost frozen. The next day, I began to deal with Wang Yan's demands. A few days later, I finally managed to raise the money. I met with Wang Yan and handed the money to her. When she took the money, I saw a hint of guilt in her eyes, but more than that, there was relief. I returned home and told Hui Hui that everything was over. We sat down and had a serious talk about our relationship. Although we still loved each other, we knew we needed time to heal the wounds this relationship had suffered. We decided to separate for a while, giving each other some space to think and reassess our lives.